WF representing Palace, so let's tell you about Palace. Rolling straight to the ceiling, crowns and crystals, top like journeys, dishing out malice. Hold up, South London's grandest, far from bandits. Anything earned for a goal of elevation, just passing the team over here might finish out. Bright future we can't vanish. SE25 any day, that's sellers. Rev up the engines, no more reverse reactions. Fan cams, bands on stream. Share up the team, support the dream team when Eagles fly, make noise and scheme. Dare to dream or dream to dare, taking a step to become supreme.
Yes, everyone, and welcome to another edition of TACT-EAGLE. As you can see, we aren't talking about the Arsenal game. We are instead talking about the upcoming semi-final against Aston Villa. As always, I'm joined by JC. JC, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I quite like these cup, like these later round cup TACT-EAGLEs, because we can sort of analyze both games we've actually played against the other team in the league, and also we've played these guys in the Carabao Cup as well. So this will be our fourth fixture against them. So there's a lot of content to go over, a lot of stuff to review, and to be fair, a lot of different patterns of play from both teams through as well. So quite an interesting one, and yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into it.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and yeah, and I like the So I like these. I agree. I like these ones because we can actually rewatch, and also they were enjoyable games to watch, obviously, because we didn't lose any of them. So it was good to see us doing well, and us, and ultimately, especially in the home game, we did exploit Villa very well. But yeah, but obviously there is the game tomorrow, which we're not so we're not doing a TACT-EAGLE on it. But I mean, JC, just a quick, maybe very very quickly, how do you think it's going to go?
I think we are going to get battered.
Yeah.
But I think we spoke about a little bit on the preview that I didn't think that, I thought that they were playing on the weekend, but they're not.
Yeah,
so they can go
I
full
forgot
strength.
that too. Yeah.
So they're going to go full strength. Glasner's come out publicly and said we're making at least 3 changes. Two of them we know. One will be Lerma and one will not be Chilwell. So Chilwell's not playing because he's ill. Lerma's going to be one of them for a fact. But the other two, who knows? It really wouldn't surprise me if it's Kamada for Wharton and maybe Nketiah for Mateta, and that's it.
Yeah,
it wouldn't surprise me. I think I had a quick talk with Chairman on the way home, and he said that Eze only played 45 minutes. It wouldn't surprise me if he plays quite a bit in this game just to get some match fitness.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, I mean, for me, the key positions are obviously apart from Richards and that, I think the key positions for me will be like a Wharton, because I think looking back at the games, Wharton was so pivotal in our win against Villa in the league. Mateta as well, again, another really pivotal player for the way they play. And also Nketiah, I think you said on the preview yesterday, Nketiah's got something to prove against Arsenal as well.
He's already scored a really good goal against them as well in the cup as well.
Yeah, exactly. It was a really good header from him. But guys, if you want more info on that one, we did do a preview yesterday. So after this, you can have a look. But first things first, we will talk about the injuries or lack of, which we'll find out in a minute, and the lineups. Anyways.
So, injuries. This is so interesting, Dan. Do you know why it's so interesting?
Why?
Because I'm going to say exactly what I said last week. Riyad out till 26, Decore out till the end of the season, and everyone is back. For Aston Villa, they actually have 0 injuries. However, Disaster is cup tied, so he can't play. It
That
doesn't
is
make a difference
unfortunate.
anyway.
No, I don't. To be fair, even if he wasn't, I don't think he'd play anyway. To be honest.
No, I expect Torres, Konsa, Mings, all fit. He ain't gonna play. And I think Carlos is fit as well, so you know.
Yes, I mean he's been out for ages, isn't he? He's been out for a very long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I don't think they'll risk him. But I think, I think obviously it'd be worth, because obviously they are kicking off in about 22 minutes. We know what the lineups are.
Do you want to see the lineup real quick?
Let's have a look. Let's have a look at their lineup tonight. So so I mean, when I first looked at that, I thought that was quite a strong lineup, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, I sent it to you on text. Like, we will probably do something very similar where they'll put a strong team out. They'll get to 45, maybe 60 minutes, and then there'll be a mass exodus of substitutions depending on how the game's going.
Mm-hmm.
I think our hope here is that they beat Manchester City here and that they keep their good players on for as long as possible.
Yeah.
That would be the ideal scenario for us. Yes, that would give them loads of confidence coming into the FA Cup game, but it means that they've got a lot more minutes and harder minutes in their legs. Because in my eyes, I mean, not giving away too much here, but I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I can see about 7 or 8 of those players that I have in my Villa starting 11 to play against us, and you can't make 7 subs.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I think for me there's a couple of interesting things as well. Obviously, the players who've been left out, like I've just seen Durfez is picked one of those players that I was thinking about as well. Watkins, obviously, is on the bench. Asensio is on the bench as well. And one thing I think is really interesting, more so because, to be fair, I don't really know loads about. I haven't watched Onana enough to really give a good opinion on him, but I'm very surprised that Onana's playing there with Kamara. I always thought that Onana would be more of like a, I don't know, like I don't know how good he is going forwards, but I'm surprised I didn't think he was that much of an 8. Again, maybe I'm completely wrong there, but I'm surprised. I'd be interested to see how them two play together tonight.
If anything, from what I saw with Onana, he played really well at Everton in that. I wouldn't say it was like a 10 role, but you know how at Everton they had that Decore in the 10, and then he acted as like a second striker.
Mm-hmm. Okay, fair enough. Well, maybe he does a good job there then.
When Onana was there, he wasn't the guy playing as that second striker when Decore was injured. What he was doing was he was that guy that when he couldn't get the ball to Calvert-Lewin, they'd look for him instead, and then he'd make that forward pass. So I wouldn't say he's amazing at running with the ball, but I would say his passing over a long distance is very good.
Yeah.
So he might be a little bit gangly and, a little bit different to a traditional player, but he's a little bit like a less technical Loftus-Cheek, let's say. Like, he can go forward with the ball really well.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that you wouldn't expect it because of his stature and what he's been doing at Everton. Like, he was used at Everton as a DM when he's actually got quite good qualities going forwards. Like when I think perfect example is Conor Gallagher. When he was at West Brom, they played him as a defensive midfielder, whereas we played him as an out-and-out 8, and he was brilliant. He did defending and attacking. That's sort of what Onana's like, but just to a little bit less of an attacking degree, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Okay, fair enough. Oh, yeah, so it'd be interesting to see how they play. And yeah, I don't know if there's anything else to really pick out there, to be fair.
I think it's quite telling about where he's playing Telemans as well, because in my midfield for them to start against us, I have Telemans in my starting midfield, and I have Kamara in my starting midfield as well for them.
Yeah. Okay. Well, should we have a look at maybe the predicted, how this can carry over to the predicted then, and then we'll have a look at what we've seen and compare.
Are you going to play the thing?
I've already done it, didn't I?
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'll do it again.
Look at this. All for free. You guys are getting 2 transitions.
At least I think so, but I'm doubting myself. I'm not gonna.
I can't tell. I can't remember, but I want to know if I'm gaslighting you or not, because it's
I
quite
can't
funny.
remember either.
But here is what I have gone with for our predicted 11. Henderson in goal, with Mitchell, Gay, Lacroix, Richards, Munoz at the back. I've gone Wharton, Hughes. If we want to be tactically correct, we've got to get the players in the right position. I've gone Hughes, Wharton, and I've gone Ebbs, Sarr, Mateta for us.
Mm-hmm.
Dan, do you agree or do you disagree?
Yeah, you know what? I think that will be. I think that because I do have something different, but to be honest, it's just one I got from one of their previous fixtures. But you know what? Looking at all those players, I think a lot of those players make a lot of sense.
Are you talking about us or?
Sorry for what you've put for Villa. Trying to maybe break us down a bit.
Oh, I was asking about us, not them.
Sorry. I was looking at Villa. Sorry, mate. Yeah, no, for us, that's provided there's no injuries tomorrow. Yeah, that's got to be the team.
However, for Villa, I've gone with a set 4-2-3-1. I've got Martinez in goal with Matson, Torres, Konsa, and Cash at the back. Kamara, Telemans in the middle, with Asensio, Rogers, and Rashford as the 3 number 10s, with Ollie Watkins up top. But there are a lot of options, if you can see up here, onto the bench. Digne could be for Matson. I don't think Ramsey would start, but Ramsey could come on for Asensio later on. You could see Rashford not even start. You could see McGinn in there.
Yeah.
You know, you might not see Telemans. You might see Nana. Later on in the game, you could see Barkley. Like, you got so much. You take off Rogers late on in the game, bring on Donyell Marlon. Like, they've got so many players of such high quality to just throw on whenever they need it, which I think is probably the thing that scares me the most about their team. Because that's why I said that them playing such a strong team now, it doesn't actually make that much of a difference, because they've got such good squad depth that you know, they can pick and choose. Like, yes, Marcus Rashford is great, and he's better than John McGinn, but John McGinn just gives you something so different that he's still dangerous as a player.
Absolutely. And to be honest, even like someone like Barkley, for example, even he's a very, on his day, is a very decent player if push ever comes to shove.
Oh, 100%.
They've got a really good squad, and I totally agree. That's the thing that worries me. It's like, maybe we can play well for 90, but then, if it does go to extra time, it is kind of like backs against the wall really already.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's before we talk a bit more about how the previous games went, let's just go through some comments. So, big up the dog. Looking forward to the vlog. Are y'all even allowed to film the gameplay? I can't remember what the rule is. It's like,
to be fair, we don't normally record the game that much anyway. If it's a set piece, I might pull my phone out. If it's not, I don't really seem to pull my phone out. Half time, full time before the game, but during the game, probably not.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like I as well. I don't really. I get quite caught up in the game. I might film like the beginning, like as the players are coming up on the pitch, or like as the game started, or something like that, or like JC said, like when there's a set piece or something. But otherwise, yeah, no, don't
Yeah,
really
because
tend to.
still, even now, getting my phone out and filming the game is not my first instinct at the game.
Yeah, no, exactly. Van Dijk said that the Liverpool squad will be watching the game tomorrow, cheering us on. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I don't know who they're playing this weekend, but they're playing Spurs, aren't they? Spurs don't care about the league, so they'll almost certainly lift the trophy there. Big up, Chairman. Big up, Jake. Let's get Essie on for a game. Yeah, no, I think for tomorrow, absolutely, I wouldn't mind. Yeah, Franca. I think I would like to see Saul get some rest. So, yeah, it's an interesting one tomorrow. I said we talked about it in the preview, but obviously it's trying to balance, trying to do well in that game because we are within shouting of the 8th place, but also trying to balance managing to rotate players for Saturday. Obviously, big up, Luca. Yeah, we are all good. How are you? Dogs and Kitman JC.
I got to earn my bread somehow.
Do what we did in the home game. So that was the game that I watched quite a lot of, and I've got a lot of pictures for it. So we'll talk about that later. Watkins is the Ronaldo of Nketiah's. Tielemans is the Kevin De Bruyne of Adam Lallana's. Barkley is the Ndombele's of Pogba.
I think that's the best one.
Ndombele, Jesus. Big up, Alfie. Are you not allowed to film the gameplay? I think there is a limit on how much you can do. A little bit, but I can't remember. There is a point where it does become a bit. You're not allowed to do it. I don't want the pagans a god. Give the pagans a god of honor. I think we're going to have to. Like they're going to win the title. We're playing them on the last day, so it will be interesting to see what team OG starts with. Will there be any surprises for tomorrow? I don't know, really. Like, I think we'll rotate like 3 players. I think, and then I think that'll be it. And then there'll be hopefully an incentive to take people off at say like 60 minutes or something.
I do think anyone hoping for Caleb Kapora starting is going to be disappointed because if anyone's going to start over Munoz, it will most likely be Klein.
Yeah. And I know he started in the League Cup, but that was just because
there was no other option.
Yeah, and Klein
came on.
Klein also, yeah. Klein was worse.
Klein was worse than Kapora. You know what? Yeah, the only unfortunate thing with Kapora in that game was that he got carded really early because Trossard just thought, "Yeah, I'm going to run at you," and Kapora didn't have the pace to keep up with him. But to be fair, he was so much better after he got that yellow, and Klein was awful.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, Klein was really bad. Don't forget, Wharton didn't play last 2 meetings versus Arsenal. I don't know. See, this is the thing. Like, I think it is really hard to say like who. I know like we could theoretically rotate the whole team, but like I say, it's trying to get that balance of trying to still be within shouting distance of 8th, but then also making sure we're still relatively all right for Saturday. So it will be interesting. Hi guys, how are you doing? Big up, Paul. Yeah, we're good. How are you? Do you reckon Glasner will make a lot of changes? A lot of half-time changes. I don't think unless they do it at half-time, but I think certainly the beginning of the second half, I think they'll be, they'll be doing that. Enjoying this during an exercise session on a rowing machine. Big up, Durfers. I hope you row well. Right. I know we don't really. Oh no. Should we play them? I guess it doesn't really fit, really, does it?
Not really.
Let's just do it anyway because they're nice videos. Right. So, as I said, we're going to be focusing on the previous games that we played against Aston Villa rather than telling you how they will set up because we've talked about Emery's Glasner. We've talked about Emery's Glasner so many times. Sorry, what am I talking about? Emery's Palace sorry, Emery's Villa. Oh my God, what is wrong with me? Emery's Villa so many times. So you just go and watch one of the old TACT-EAGLEs, and you'll see. And also, we'll probably touch on it anyway whilst we're here. So I'll go first as I'm hosting. I'll talk about the first bit, and I want to focus firstly on how we shouldn't play against Aston Villa.
Oh.
And let's see if it's going to let me share my screen this time. Yeah, okay. You know what? I think it's because I need to load images first before, because I think it doesn't like it when it's blank. Right,
I think before you go off about that, let me go through my slides a little bit first.
All right, go on then.
So, obviously, I think this would be quite important for when Dan talks a little bit more later. But this is the team that they're playing tonight. This is the team that they played in the Carabao Cup. So they had, a lot of rotation there, a lot of different players, a lot of players that they've sold, they've loaned out, some players that just aren't in favour anymore, like Leon Bailey, and they had some injuries here. So this was their team during that game. This was their team during the game that we drew at their place. So, they had a few more players that are sort of regulars now. So this was the only game that Pau Torres actually played against us this year. Barkley started, Bailey started. And this was just about when Morgan Rogers just started to get his foot in the door there. And then the 4-1 at home, when he tried to copy us and he went a little bit mad of his formation and didn't really know what he was doing. And once again, he had quite a few injuries here. Granted, I think that 26 where he had the game of his life against us, even though they lost. But I think it's quite important to talk about how in every game that they've played against us, they've started a different formation or a different playing style, and they haven't actually had a set style in every single one of 3 games that they've played against us.
Mm-hmm. And do you know what I think was really interesting? So when we played them in the home game, I'm pretty sure Glasner said in the press conference on the Friday before, or the Tuesday, whenever it was, saying that Emery doesn't change the way he plays; he always plays the same, or tactically. And then he changed the formation, and it didn't work. So I thought that was a funny bit of mind games there, and it's going to come to its conclusion on Saturday. So we'll see about that. But the first thing I want to talk about is how not to play, right? So I don't know if anyone wants to cast their minds back to the game. There was a VAR
offside,
which on another day they might have given that. I'm not going to lie, it was that close. Or on another day,
was it Watkins or Rogers? I can't remember.
It was Watkins. So, you'll see it on. Yeah, it was definitely Watkins. So I'll show you on here. Let me get my brush. Turn the hardness all the way up.
Oh yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I just said that for the pause, really. So this is what we don't want. So there's like a little scuffle here in the middle. It comes to Chris Richards, right? Now, here, this is where you don't want Villa. And also the reason why I'm doing this first is because everything else we did it really well, at least for the bits that I watched. We did it really well. Okay? Now, this is an example of how we did it wrong one time and they very nearly scored from it. Okay? So this is what we don't want. We want concentration. So Chris Richards messes up the pass here. Watkins intercepts the ball and it goes to this player. Sorry, it doesn't go to that player. Sorry, it goes to Tielemans. Okay. So he's going to get on the ball. Now, this is what you don't want against Aston Villa, right? Because, we've said in the past, Villa are very, very quick at breaking. What they want is they want loads of space, like in behind here, for them to be able to exploit. And when you got players like Rogers, Watkins, Ramsey, is it any surprise, really? Not really. And also, you have a little sneak peek as well. It's a bit of a tangent, but a little sneak peek of the way that they built up in this game, which you'll see a bit later. They got their back three, they've got their staggered double pivot, and okay, these guys aren't wide, but they want wide fullbacks, and then you got your three central players here. So in a way, actually, not too dissimilar, I suppose, the way that we try to build out. But this is what you don't want, right? Because when you've got someone like Tielemans, who is a good passer, and you got Rodgers, who is more than happy to take that ball and then run. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Okay, Mitchell's getting back. You got your three players here. You've got this player here. Now, again, Rodgers, good pass of the ball. Watkins, this is his prime territory. Gets slotted in. Now, this is where he was ever so slightly offside. Pass it through. And again, this is what they want. They want this space to run into. Watkins, and also JC, I want you to think whose fault it was for Rodgers not being picked up. But obviously, he gets there, then passes it across the box, and then Rodgers runs in and then just taps it in. And I said, luckily, he was ever so slightly offside. So that's what you don't want. In a nutshell, you don't want Villa in this position, right? Because it's going to be squeaky bum time. Mm-hmm. Now, whose fault do you think it actually was for Rodgers not being picked up? Rodgers is there.
I would say it's the person that you've also got circled there, Will Hughes.
You know what? You would think that, but actually, I don't. I think it is partially him, but also I think it's partially Gay. Because what happens is that he.
Do you think that if Gay doesn't stand him up, he doesn't pass the ball, he just keeps running?
No. So what happens is that he passes the ball, Gay stops running, but Rodgers keeps going. So okay. And then Gay, in my opinion, doesn't really make the best effort to track him. Yes, I think Will Hughes, he is there. He should be closer to him, or at least he should be telling Gay to get closer to him. But I do think he was
watching a bit, aren't they?
Yeah, they're all ball watching there.
Even then, in that last one, you can see Mitchell sort of stopped running at that point as well, isn't he? If he kept going, he might have been able to cut that out. If you go to your next slide, Mitchell's body language is stopped instead of running at pace.
Yeah, reading the danger. No, I agree. So yeah, they're all ball watching. But at the end of the day, it's all come from this situation, from a silly pass from Chris Richards. Has gotten cut out, and then immediately, because the thing is, when you'll see later what I'm talking about, but these are the situations that they really thrive, whereas there are some other situations which Villa definitely don't thrive. Because a lot of my ones are more about how we gain like our press and like how we gain numerical advantages and stuff like that. Was there anything you wanted to show first before I kind of went over to something like that? Because I could go on to it now.
I've got my stuff is more how to win, like how to beat them. But for them, how not to play, I think maybe being overly aggressive as well. So I think overly passive is a problem. I think, as it showed in your screenshots there, that if you don't actually make those challenges, then they're literally just going to run all over you. Like, they've got people who can dribble the ball, they've got people who can pass the ball, they've got a wide range of, I guess, threats in their team. And being overly aggressive, you leave yourself exposed to runners like Watkins and Rashford and people like that. But then if you be less aggressive and you're a bit more standoffish, then you allow the people that can dribble like Rodgers, like Asensio, to thrive even more. So it's a little bit of a thing. You need to know when to stick and know when to twist, and you see that with certain players.
Exactly.
Which will be very difficult to, for the whole team to understand that at every moment in the game. Because no team's perfect. We can't have a perfect 90 minutes. There's going to be stages. Like even when we're playing against Man City, when we lost, we had our 15, 20 minutes at the start of the game. Every team has their part of the game. They just need to make the most of it.
Absolutely, and you know what? I will just chuck up here just for balance. But I think that's a really good point. And to be honest with you, I watched Villa's first half against Brighton again, where again they had a strong team out, and also I watched their first half after Newcastle equalised. And you know what? I didn't really think that much of them in those games, considering Newcastle were knackered and Brighton haven't been very good since then. You know, I do think, I don't know, I do think they are prone to going through parts of the game where they're actually not very good.
No, it's true, because when we were playing against them, right at the end of the game, I'm sure we scored our last 2 goals within about 3 minutes of each other to make it 3 and then 4.
Yeah. No, yeah, absolutely. I think they just kind of gave up by that point, to be honest.
And I've got a hot take for right at the end.
One sec.
For some mind games that I think will happen.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I've got a hot take which I'll go over right at the end.
Okay.
Of what I've got a feeling will happen because of the press conferences that happened. So Glasner and Emery haven't done their one yet, but you've kind of alluded to it a little bit about when we played the home game where Glasner said he don't change much. I've got a feeling that Emery will change ever so slightly and he'll make a change, which I think I've already shown in my predicted 11 something that Emery's never done before. And the media have been screaming and the fans have been screaming at him to do it. So I feel like he'll trial it at Wembley, and I don't think it's going to go very well.
Okay, I feel like I know what you're going to say, but yeah, we'll talk about that later. So I just talked about the time when we didn't do very well, and to be fair, that's probably the only time that I saw that we didn't do very well. But like I said, Villa are very good in transition, right? But this is, for me, how we played a very good way of doing it. And I'd like to see us do this again. So they've won the ball there. They've passed out. I can't remember who. I think what's that? Bogard, his name is.
Yeah.
He's there. And you could probably see an obvious pass already. It's going to go into there for Rodgers to run into. And in fact, that does exactly that happens. Passes the ball into there. Now, sorry. So initially, you could probably think, okay, this could be a bit of a dodgy situation because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players taken out by that pass. But I think the way we recover the situation, I think, is really good. And obviously, then you've also got someone like Digne who might be prone to running, and that is what he does. So he runs into there. Digne's going to run into here. Now, Munoz is running back. Now, I think what's important here is that Hughes also comes over. Because when that happens, as soon as he's turned, okay, yes, he's got 2 options here, but this is just forcing down the line with Chris Richards, who is over here somewhere, because behind him, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 players. Well, yeah, 6 players behind him. So you've got Digne here. Well, you got him, 1. Digne. He's only got 3 players ahead of him. And that'll be Digne, who is likely going to be covered, who would be covered by Richards. And I think you might see it a bit later. I can't remember now. And then whoever that is on the other side, I can't remember who that is. But and then this is Tielemans, I think. But anyway, my point is that if he plays that ball in there, Hughes is going to come in and try and challenge him. If he passes there, okay, you've got Munoz who's going to be back soon. Then you've still got Wharton here who can, as long as he stands his ground, he's fine. As long as he doesn't do anything silly and just directly fly into him, then we're fine. Because he's got Richards there covering him, so he doesn't need to do that either.
Mm-hmm.
And then what that then happens, maybe it was Sorry, was this Ramsey actually? Probably, was he passed to him? I can't remember. But anyway, point is that he then tries to run. Sorry, it was Ramsey. This is Rogers here. So he passed it to Ramsey, but he runs and he basically runs nowhere because he just runs because that's what I guess he's told to do by the manager. By that point, Munoz is caught up with him. He's challenging him. Richards is over here somewhere, but he's looking after Digne. And then you've got this player here. Okay, that's fine. But then in that situation, you've got a 2v3 defensive situation. The other players haven't made it back or haven't supported him. Is that maybe a problem in his part? I don't know. But what I will say is that I don't think they're very good at breaking down low blocks, as we did very well in this game.
Mm-hmm. And I think one thing that I do like, and I will speak about a little bit more in more detail later, is that if you go back to the last slide with Wharton sort of running.
Wait one sec.
I think you got the one before that.
Where is it? That one.
This one.
Yeah.
What I from here, what I also like about it is that Wharton's body shape here is I guess showing him down the outside.
Yeah,
so showing him that the easy pass to make is that pass down to Digne. That's where we want them to go.
Yeah.
Man City have just scored, by the way.
Have they?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, nice.
So Wharton's body shape is showing him to make that easy pass. And I think what is quite nice about that is that we don't mind them having that space out wide. We really don't. Because they're not a very crossy team. They don't do too many crosses from outside the box. They like doing like low driven crosses within the box and maybe like crosses from deep. But if we're here and we're trying to push them out wide, that's the best case scenario, because if they're out wide, sort of a little bit like how Iraola defends, he uses the touchline as an extra defender. The wider you keep, the less options they have.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I like about Wharton here. He's sort of ushering him to play the easy pass, and he's not diving in to make the option easy for Ramsey. Because if he dives in, then Ramsey could, like how Ramsey does, he drives inside. Mm-hmm. If Wharton dives in there, you make that choice even easier for Ramsey. He can go on the inside, and then he's got two passes. He's got the one out far right, and then he's got Digne as well on the left.
Yeah,
but by doing this and being a little bit more passive in this press, you only really leave him one option.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you do that, you thought, like I said, he could have gone wide. Instead, they forced him on the inside.
He sort of ran into Munoz.
What the hell? What's happened there? I don't know, I've got a really weird thing now. Oh, that's why. Okay, yeah. No, exactly. And
Silver.
And yeah. Right, so as I said, they don't really deal with low blocks very well. And I thought the way we got numerical advantages, if you ever want to jump in, JC, just tell me, by the way, otherwise I'll just keep going. So one thing I noticed, we were very good at getting defensive numerical advantages. And I think with this, numerical advantages are always good because obviously, you know, if you ever play football, trying to run past one person is difficult. Trying to run past two people is even more difficult. So obviously, therefore, whenever you're defending, you always want these overloads. So let me just think where we are. Right, so this is a good way. So what happens is, so they're kind of breaking a little bit here. But then what I like is that when you move to this frame, they've got 1, 2, 3 players there. And we've got 4 players in the immediate vicinity, plus Wharton, who can come in to cover if needed, right? But then what I also like as well is that John McGinn comes back, and they're not just relying on that. So then, you know, if he moves there, then it's a 4v4. That's when Ebbs comes in, and Ebbs is there to try and marshal him a little bit. And in fact, that's exactly what happens. But then again, when they move inside, we then still get our numerical advantage. So as soon as that pass is made, as soon as that pass is made, Mateta also comes inside there. Pause. As does Ebbs.
Way.
It's going to happen eventually. They move there to try and block off these areas. Because I mean, you look at that. No matter who you are, no matter what team you are, you're not getting through that. Not with the amount of players that they're committing forwards there. And what happens? Okay, all they then do is then just pass to the other side, and then they're recycling the ball. So I think Digne's over here with Munoz. So again, even on this side, you got 1 plus Digne 4.
Mm-hmm.
But then we've got our advantage.
And the
still
thing
over
that's
here.
nice about this is that how we're pushing out and regaining space, we're sort of doing that in a very smart way as well. So you can see, for example, Bogard, his only real option is to ping it to Rodgers right in front of him, but the ball has to come straight back to him because there's nowhere he can go because you've got Wharton, which is tight to him. He can't pass it straight into Ramsey there because he's got Chris Richards next to him, and he's also got Sarr in the way. So how we're sort of pushing out, we're sort of shadowing certain players from even receiving the pass, and then you've got other players that are being man-marked by others. Like Watkins has got no space there because Mark's in the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And also as well, like I think so this is why I think they don't really deal well with low blocks, is because the space here compared to the opportunity that I showed earlier that we nearly conceded from. Like the amount of space available there, if he does ping that over, Watkins he's not going to run onto that. And if he is able to run onto it, you would have thought Henderson would be out there. Do you know what I mean? So I think we've got him at arm's length.
And also, if he gets the ball, there's not really much he could do.
Exactly. Like, I mean, what's he going to do? He's going to get an aerial duel. Okay, if he wins that, I mean, there's 5 players around him that are Palace players, and if they maybe are a bit vigorous, maybe they could get a similar number. But I would still back us to win that second ball. Or at the very least, they'll just or it gets headed out for a throw-in or whatever. I don't know, but. The point is we're giving ourselves the best opportunity just to try and deflect. And not only were we doing this here, but also we were doing this in the middle of the park as well. So we were trying to nullify their central build-up. So, where is it? Here we go. Here's the next one. So, a lot of mine are defensive, but to be honest with you, I think if we get our defense right, we can catch them in specific areas, so then we can hit them on the break. That's the way I'm envisioning this. But this is how we nullify, because they like playing centrally. Like, he'll change the personnel and he'll change how they rotate. But generally, he will build up in a back three like this with a staggered double pivot here. And then you've got your 4 players here. So Ramsey, who is the quote-unquote winger, is going to move inside. I learned this time. And then the other player, Morgan Rodgers, who's also the winger, they're both going to move inside as 10s effectively. And then the width is all going to be provided by whoever well, in this game it wasn't, but assume he doesn't play with a back 3 again, it'll be the full-backs. But in this case, he played with wing-backs. So that it was even more pronounced there. So anyway, so we're nullifying the build-up. We're just making it very difficult to play through. Very difficult. So if they pass it out wide to Disaster. As soon as that happens, Ebbs is on his bike to meet him. And then what I like as well, and this is what JC was saying about being aggressive earlier, we need to be aggressive. So as soon as they receive that, the obvious pass is going to be out wide there unless he wants to recycle it over here. Unless he wants to recycle it to Konza. The obvious pass is that one there, right? As soon as he receives it, Mitchell's on him like a flash. Now, again, the obvious pass here is one obvious pass. You could get it there, but Mark's in there. I think he's already won a couple of duels at this point as well. So they're probably thinking maybe that's not the best move. You could argue maybe this would be a good pass, but by the time that reaches there, I think Sarr would be able to get in behind and, be able to pressure them facing their own goal. Now, they do get a bit lucky in this because what happens is that Hughes And again, this is why I think because I don't think we truly mark in a man-to-man system. I think it is sort of like a hybrid, because I think if that pass is made there, I do think Hughes goes towards that player there. I can't remember who that is. I don't know who 27 is actually.
I'm sure 27's Rogers.
Roger. Oh yeah. So if they pass that to Rogers, I think he's gonna try and face him up there. But it doesn't. Goes for McGinn, and so therefore Hughes goes there. So we're using sort of not necessarily zonal marking, but like you're kind of marking two players, and you're just going to whoever.
I would have said it's more trying to cut out passing lanes rather than zonal marking, really.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's definitely not. No, it's definitely not zonal marking. I would say in this instance, for me, it's just where. So I don't think he's not blocking that lane per se, but I do think if that is passed in, I think he comes in to try and tackle, and then vice versa. I think this pass is made and he goes in to face them. They do get lucky. It does deflect and it does end up at Rogers' feet. Rogers
1-1.
makes. Sorry,
it's 1-1.
Already? Wow. Okay. That's going to be... Well, if they're going for it, I'm happy with that. They can go for it all they want. And he turns, as he normally does, plays it into... I don't know, I think it's Ramsey. Plays it out wide. But what I like is that as soon as he gets there, Chris Richards is there. We've all got a player. In the middle, we've got an overload. I think Munoz does try to get out. I think what happens is he makes a cross, but then Chris Richards blocks it and goes out for a throw. But he's going to show him down the line. Munoz is going to get back, and then we're all good. And as long as Ty Mitchell watches his back, which he doesn't always do, I think we're okay there. And that's we did this all game, like this middle blocking is all good. And the thing is, and this is what I was saying about why I think getting the defence right is so important, because if he wins that ball there, he can pass it to Wharton. Wharton's facing their goal. He can afford to take a few steps forward. Sar's moving in there. Or like we did do all game, a long straight pass to Matez, try and hold up the ball so then people can play off him. That's what we did all game, and I think that is how. I think that is a good starting point for us if we get the defence right, catch them in the midfield especially, or even if we catch them sort of on the cusp of our defensive third and the middle third. We've got a good jump. We've got a good point for us to, kind of go in there.
Yeah, and I feel like I've got some screenshots and some good ways of being able to do that. Mm-hmm. So, for example, I think you can tell from how they have played that they play completely differently to how they did at the start of the season. And funny enough, I do think that Unai Emery has taken that little bit of what Glasner does for us, and he sort of implemented that into his teams. And you can see that by the screenshots that you've shown that. Because the home game was the third game that we played against them this year, so the last game. And in that game, there were multiple times where even though they weren't playing the same formation as us, they were trying to replicate how we were playing with their players. So they were playing certain people out of position and in slightly different positions. And what I mean by that is we play off our front three when they're up top. They're not like this. They're very much like this, aren't they? So they can interlink, there could be times where it's like that, or even where it's like this. Like there's multiple different ways that our guys could be, but they're very close-knit together. But what has happened with Emery is that he has started the season with his wingers and his wing-backs, doubling up on the fullback out here and then putting the cross in. But then he sort of realised that by doing that, Watkins, yes, he's good in the air, but he's not a target man. He's not that kind of guy to bang the ball in the box and get headed goals. Yes, he can score them, but Watkins isn't that guy. And I think Emery's realised that winning this battle out wide is a lot less important than winning this battle in here. So with the arrival of Asensio and Rashford, he's actually started playing these 4 in the middle here. So we normally do a 3 up top, but he's doing a 4 with Asensio. And how they're doing it is very similar to Glasner, very tight, very compact, keep as many bodies in the danger areas as possible. Because let's say if Cash gets the ball out here and he beats Mitchell and he gets the ball in, now he's got either a cross on to Watkins or Rashford at the back post. He's got a pass inside here to Rodgers, and then he's got Asensio picking up another space here. So they've got a lot more options by changing how they play, and I think that's inspired by Oliver Glasner, if you want me to be really honest. And I think that's why they're getting a lot more results and scoring a lot more goals than they have been doing so far this season. But with that front 4, what it also comes with is what we do. If Konza has the ball over here, we will have 2 people pressing, and then Sarr picking up the other man on their 2-man defence. But how they do it, they'll have it very much so very similar with 4-man. So with our back 5, they'll be able to cover a lot of our passes out and still be able to press as much as they do because the fullbacks sit very, very high. But I think what is also important about this is that if you can pass the ball through that pressing line, which is here, and then you turn, everyone in their team becomes extremely passive, which is where we can then change and do what teams love to do to us, which is transition. And we are a team that is very susceptible to transitions, but I think in a weird way they are as well, but if anything, a little bit worse than us, because they play their fullbacks high and their 2 DMs, and then they've only got 2 centre-backs. So when you're breaking on them, really and truly, it's 4 versus whoever you're throwing forwards. Whether for us, it'll be our back 3 plus one of our fullbacks. So it'll probably be, most of the time, it's our back 4, which is Mitchell, Gay, Lacroix, Richards, and then Munoz is normally up here. And then you've got Wharton Hughes. So we will have 6 people back at all times, whereas they'll only have 4, which is why the Villa are a very top-heavy side, I would say. A very, very top-heavy side. And even way back when, they don't really press too much when you actually beat that line. And I'll show this here. So this was in the cup game at their place, which is we beat them 2-1. And look, so you've got off the screen, so you've got Duran here. So obviously he's not there anymore, but you've still got Duran here with like Lacroix standing right behind him about here. You got Munoz all the way up here. You've got Mitchell who's standing very high. You've got Nketiah showing for the ball, and you've got our centre backs pushed up supporting because we can trust Lacroix with him down here. And basically, Wharton picks up the ball from Chalobah, who had loads of time. And Dan, is there any body language of anyone even going anywhere near Adam Wharton?
No,
and look at how deep he is within their half.
Yeah, no, not at all.
So what does Wharton do? He picks up the ball and goes, "No one's going to press me. I'm just going to dribble forwards." Look at how far he goes forwards before the centre back is the one that presses him, and the midfielders just stand around and watch.
Yeah,
and he finds a nice ball out there. We put the ball in the box. Mateta heads it way over the bar. But still, when you beat that offensive line, that big press up top, they really don't want to commit themselves because they know how vulnerable they are at the back, which is something that's so simple but can be exploited so easily, really. And as a team that really thrive from going from back to front really quickly, they really don't like being pressed either.
Yeah, I thought that as well. Like, I was actually quite surprised how I think Konza's a very good defender, but I didn't think that much of him when he was on the ball.
I've got to say this is a big caveat that this game I'm showing you here, Pau Torres was not on the pitch, and he's probably the best one out of their back line on the ball.
Yeah.
Very good player, very calm, very composed. But here we have got Ezri Konsa on the ball. We've had a shot. He's sort of parried it out. Konsa's run it over here, and we've got Mateta going into press. You got Hughes staying here. You've got good old Jeffrey Schlupp still playing for us back in the day. And then you've still got Munoz still active in the attacking third. And this is what I was saying this whole time. If we keep our fullbacks up high, they cannot push their fullbacks up without any risk. Their fullback is long gone, and Munoz is not worried about it whatsoever, because what we're doing is we're pressing. We're pressing in a way. Oh, let me come back. We're pressing in a way that this player is not active. Mitchell is covering the player up here, so he's not active. And then you've got Daichi Kamada standing about here, making his way forwards to get it so this player's not active. There's like a player down here that's perfectly fine, but that's going to be a hell of a pass trying to find him there. And what he does is he tries to play the easy pass that we're actually allowing him to go to, which is McGinn here, but he doesn't check his shoulder. Kamada comes in and intercepts. And then because Munoz is still active, Schlupp's still active. This is Nketiah. He's making this run down here. You got Mateta as well. And to be fair, there's a lot of things that Kamada could have done here, but he took the initiative to drive. You still have Nketiah here. You still got Schlupp here. And, Munoz is still active here with their fullback not watching him at all. His whole notice is over here, not on Munoz at all. So Munoz actually makes a really nice run around the end. If Kamada wanted to, there could have been an incredible pass in there because he's off his line. Look, could have played him in there and it would have been a tap-in for Munoz. But you got him twisted up. Kamada takes an extra touch to actually send him to the floor. Great goal from Kamada, don't get me wrong. But from here, you can see that we've got loads of options here because if you catch them out, they're all over the place. Look at how deep Mings is. Mm-hmm. The left back's got no idea what he's doing. Kamara's gone to press. Rogers in no man's land. Konsa don't know what he's doing. I don't even know what their defender's doing out here. He don't care. It's very interesting that if you catch them during their build-up phase, when they're starting to push everyone forward slowly and you press them because they're not actually as good on the ball as they think they are, they're very vulnerable in that way as well. And then that got me thinking, are they still like this now? Not really. The reason I say that is because here in the Newcastle game, you can see that they're much more proactive when it comes to their press. Obviously, Ramsey's not doing too much here, but this ball gets lifted and he tries to get it into this area. The ball isn't good enough and they intercept it. But what you could also say is Newcastle sort of build up in a similar way as well. They want to have all their players up high and collecting the ball from deep in their half during the build-up phase can leave big amounts of space. This is something that we need to try and minimize from happening. So for us, we'd have our 3 centre-backs, you'd have our 2 midfielders, which would probably go into an area like this. This is where I think maybe pushing one of our wider centre-backs into a central area during our build-up phase as maybe like another defensive midfielder to try and keep as many bodies in that midfield as possible to stop them from building up with 1 or 2 touch passes to then make their way. I think eventually they sort of play their way into here where he slots him in there and then he scores from there. So, but if we just have someone that steps up a little bit and is a little bit more aggressive, we might be able to stop that. Maybe transition into a little bit more of a 3 at the back into a 4 at the back again, where you push one up into DM.
So it's funny you say that. 1 sec. I'm going to leave the suspense. Let me turn the light on. It's getting dark.
Huh.
Because there was.
Drop a like if you want Dan to tell scary stories with the light off.
Woo! We're going to lose 4-0 on Saturday.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. It's funny you say that, and these are the last things that I've got to say, and then we'll round out with comments after. Or if JC you got anything else to say. So it's funny you say that, right? Because I noticed that we kind of did that. Let me chuck. So these are the last bits I've got. Let me chuck this in here. So actually, maybe I think I'll just go backwards. So what should I start with first? I'll tell you what. I'll start with the initial press. Okay. So the way Villa built out at this game was when they had when it was near their box, Martinez would basically be the third player, the middle player, and then whoever was the third, the other midfielder or whatever. Or in this case, it'll probably be Kamara going back into midfield, assuming he plays, and they play a back four. He's the third person basically. Now I thought again, what's going on here? Sorry, I've done all bit. So I think the way we press is very good because he's passed the ball there to whoever that is. I think it's Konza. So as soon as we've done that, we've ensured that this player is going to get pressed immediately. Again, I don't think Konza's that good on the ball personally, but no doubt he'll have a brilliant one, I'm thinking. But what is good as well is that we've got Ebbs watching this player here, and Hughes immediately, as soon as that person's received the ball, he's going to go and try and get in front of John McGinn. And again, this is just to stop this central progression. I think because this is what they want. They want this central progression. They're not too bothered about this side. That's just to stretch the pitch, or this side again just to stretch the pitch. And also they know that as soon as the ball comes out here or on the other side, Munoz and Mitchell are going to be right up behind them, making their lives difficult, and they might lose the ball to a throw-in. So they don't want to do that. They want to very much be in this area, right? So therefore, we've packed out the middle. And what he's done there, I don't know what he's done there. He's basically passed the ball back, right, to Martinez because they've got no way through, lumped it long, and then you've got Watkins in this position here, and Lacroix's marshalling him, and then you've got Munoz then to back him up. Okay, good. So after a while, they thought, okay, we're going to start. I don't know if you remember, but they started putting their...
There was like a standoff for like a good 30 seconds there, wasn't it?
So again, we've got 3 players in the middle here. I think that's Tielemans. 3 players in the middle here to basically try and stop this. If they go out there, Sar's going to go there, and they're going to shift and whatever, okay? Or vice versa. Same thing again. Mateta's going to go there like he did in that one. And so it's his standoff. But when what Salah did was that he did a press, but he curved his press. So that lane is effectively closed off unless Martinez is really brave. So then what you've done there is effectively you force that there. And I think they've done that on purpose. And I think if Konza plays on Saturday and Torres, I think if they do this again, we're going to do the same thing. Sal's going to cover this side, and Konza, who, in my opinion, is not as good on the ball as Torres, they're going to move it out there, right? And then what happens? So again, you can see, and what I like as well, as soon as Sal goes, Wharton is right behind Tielemans there. They pass it out to Konza. And then in this point, again, we've covered this central area so well, because the only options are you either take a chance and go back, which Sal's there, so I don't think that's gonna happen. You could pass to Tielemans. Tielemans isn't very quick though. I think Sal can recover there and make his life difficult. He could pass out wide, but then Ebbs is directly there, and in fact that is what happens. And again, obviously that pass is going to be really difficult, and that pass there is, it's not even on really. Let's be honest. Pass out wide. And the good thing is here, again, we're covering our players. We're not tight to them because we don't need to be. because I think, like we were saying earlier, be a bit more passive against Villa, and then we're good. Try and stand them up, make sure we get them into a low block situation because they can't really break them down. And then here you got, okay, you could go to McGinn. I can't remember actually what happens. I don't have another slide after this. Could go to McGinn. I guess if you're even braver, you could go to Sarr, but I think he could potentially intercept that. I don't think that would be a good idea. Could potentially go over there, but again, difficult. So likely what happens is that they go down the line, but obviously this player here who does receive it is being marshalled by either Mitchell, or if it's not Mitchell, it could be the extra man. So what happens here, and in fact, I think it was actually, because Mitchell's touch tight with Garcia was playing that game at right wing back. Well, Disasi gets the ball. Ebbs is closing him down, so he's got to pass him quickly. As soon as he passes, Mark Guéhi is effectively that extra man in the midfield, basically being really aggressive and trying to stop them, play these little 1-2s that they like to do, and so on. And it was exactly the same on the other side. They did it on the other side, and Richard stepped up into midfield. So
and I think this is very important that, in my eyes, I think it's very important that either side centre-back goes, but Lacroix has to stay back. Because I think if Lacroix goes, that leaves too big of a gap for Watkins straight down the middle. So it has to, for me, it has to be one on either side. It can't be one in the middle.
Absolutely. But I think that's where like our tactics kind of marries well with their tactics, because they'll always play in whoever they play positionally, they will play with effectively 2 10s. And that is very nicely covered by our left-sided centre-back or right side. Obviously, it means that they can't get turned. If they get turned, squeaky bum time. But to be fair, in this situation, if he does get turned, I think we do have cover. Like I think
to be fair, I also
come over, Hughes would come over, Sarr would maybe compensate as well, or maybe move back. I think
to be fair, at this part in the pitch as well, if the centre back gives away a foul there as they're facing their own goal, it's
not the end
most likely going to be a yellow. So there's no real risk in giving away a foul here, unless it's like a dodgy challenge in there. If it's a bit of a shove and he falls over, it's not a yellow.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think
unless you got our ref that we had against Bournemouth, but
well, no, it won't be him. It'll be Anthony Taylor, who both fan bases don't like. So
there we go.
But yeah, I agree with Lacroix needs to be on whoever the striker is. But I think, that's the thing I think as well that is good for us. And I feel like you're going to talk about this. That is the final thing. What was this thing? So I just want to know it's what we don't want. Oh yeah, cool. I've gone through all my pictures.
I think with how Aston Villa play as well, with someone specifically like Ollie Watkins, I wouldn't say he's a one-dimensional player, but he's not the kind of player to drop into the space. And
he's not.
That's one thing that Lacroix does really well, where he likes to follow the striker in and then do what we're asking Guéhi or Richards to do. That's to follow the striker in. But Watkins isn't that kind of guy. He's the kind of guy that he'll try and run you for pace every time. Mm-hmm. And to be fair, he never really learnt that in all the games that we played against him. He saw that I can't beat Maximus Lacroix, but I'm going to try again anyway. He's not the guy to drop deep. And I think by doing that, by having the likes of Rodgers or Ramsey being those guys that are the ones that drop deep, if we commit one of our centre-backs or one of our wider centre-backs into the middle, it doesn't that player can't receive the ball like unpressed, but it also gives our team a chance to, if they pass the ball straight back, we're going to have another man in the midfield, so they have less people to aim at really, and then we're still going to have our back four depending on where our wing backs are, of course. But I feel like that would be quite important that our central centre back doesn't go, because that's not how their striker plays.
Yeah.
And because of that, I think it does benefit us quite a bit as well. But I can go through my wild predictions for this game.
Let's go. I feel like I know what you're going to say, but go on.
Fans, pundits, journalists, every single press conference, they ask Unai Emery, Why don't you start Watkins and Rashford at the same time?
I haven't watched any of the interviews, but I knew you were gonna. I knew that was gonna be the thing.
They always ask him, why do you not play them both at the same time? I think this is because he wants to play them both against us in the cup. Because a one-off game, anything can happen. All your tactics can go out the window if you concede early, or if you score early, you could just completely control the game and it's a wrap. I think Emery's going to come out the gates full guns blazing. He's going to have Rashford going, he's going to have Watkins going, he's going to have Asensio, and he's going to have Rodgers. That's what I think his front four will be. It is an incredible lineup, but I don't think that Rashford and Ollie Watkins really gel together, because I think, in a weird way, they're going to have a little bit of that Real Madrid problem, where you've got Rashford, who likes cutting in off that left channel. You've got Watkins, who likes cutting in off that left channel. You've got Morgan Rogers, who loves sitting in that central 10. But guess what? He likes to run in from that left channel. You've got Asensio, who's running in off that right channel, which, that's something different. That's good. But I think that you've got so many people coming down that left side that I think if we just, shuffle over, maybe have our midfielders be a little bit more biased to our right, their left-hand side, I feel like that there'll be a little bit too congested of players there that they wouldn't be able to find their way through. And you think, okay, how would you solve that? And I think, in my mind, that what you can do for if this happens, so you have these guys sort of over here in this sort of way, I do think that if you slap Hughes back there, I know Munoz probably won't do this, but if you got a little bit of something like this going on down there, you can commit maybe Mitchell up a little bit higher. But I think the main one for me, leave him in space. Leave him in that space that Newcastle left for Morgan Rogers in that one clip that I showed you. Because if you do that, you then allow him to turn and create something that happens. And I thought, okay, this is a way out. They got their 4 defenders back, as we've already spoken about a little bit earlier. What do we do? And I think that what Pep did to us would work even better against them. What did Pep do? He got their number 9, the striker, to come short to collect the ball. And what did Maxence Lacroix do? Followed him in. And then do you know what you see here, Dan? I see a guy with impressive pace and a guy with good skill against one centre-back. That's my vision. Move players that aren't normally the ones that move, because they're going to be expecting, if this is the situation, they're going to be expecting this guy to drop in this situation. But I want this guy to drop, because if he drops, a centre-back has to go with him. If Eze drops, they could maybe move a midfielder. If Sarr moves, they could probably move a midfielder. But if the number 9, the big man, goes, they're going to have to commit a centre-back in. And that's where I think they'll leave loads of space in behind. Because, Pau Torres, my friend, you have not got burners. That's how I think. We're going to exploit their aggressive centre-backs. We're going to do something similar to what Man City did. We're going to try and bias that left-hand side so that they can't have all their players running in at once. And then we're going to be very brave. We're going to be aggressive. And we're not going to allow them to camp us in. I think we should use the Bournemouth game as a massive example of that. When we're defending, yes, if their fullback dives up and their centre-backs go up, don't have Sarr sitting in and tucked in. You want to exploit the fact that Wembley's pitch is so long. we want to have Sar as high up the pitch as possible so they can't push us all the way in and trap us. One thing I did find out, actually, Selhurst Park's pitch is actually a 1 meter wider than at Wembley.
Really?
Yeah, but Wembley's like 10 meters longer. So I think the fact that the pitch is longer and not wider, I think that actually plays into our hands a little bit better than Villa's, because I think a big pitch, it plays into Villa's hands because they got all their great players and the great passing. But I think the fact that it's longer benefits the speed merchant like Ismail Sarr. And especially the fact that they've got slow centre backs, I think it just helps us even more.
Yeah, absolutely. As long as
the
they
link
catch
up
us in transition.
And I think the link up between Rashford and Watkins isn't going to be the one. I think they're just so similar. They're going to get each other's ways.
I think so too. I think it will force them quite narrow. I think that's a good thing with like Ramsey. I think he's quite good at kind of keeping. He's good at staying in that half space. Whereas I think Rashford, I think, is very. He's always looking to cut in on his right, isn't he? So
yeah.
Right. Some comments. And then I'm not just putting out there. I'm not doing a prediction, so that's not happening. Let's do some comments. Dan and JC, I'm watching you. A Palace win, please. So I'm not predicting, so you can't be upset with me today, Earth. Villa keeping some key players on the bench. They must have their minds on the semi-final. I think they got such a strong squad. To be fair, I think it could be one or the other really. Back in us having this debate, who's more of a leader, Hughes or Gay? I don't know. It's a different one because you're obviously what you see on the pitch is only like a very small part of it. I mean, what you see on the pitch, you probably I would say Hughes is more vocal.
I mean, to be fair, if you're going on the pitch, you go Lacroix, no? Out of anyone.
Lacroix, yeah, I would say Lacroix is probably the most vocal after. Well, yeah, I'd probably say he is probably the most vocal actually. Hughes is more like bitey, isn't he? But I think Lacroix, he talks a lot, doesn't he? At the same time, it's also very important for Villa. Yeah, they need to get Champions League, otherwise they might be in financial trouble. With PSR, nothing crazy. Really surprises empty seats at the Man City game.
The empty head is back again.
Eze is the Grealishes of Suns. Which website do we use for thumbnails? We use Canva. The background I made on paint.net. And then when we edit like the text and all that, that's all on Canva. I feel like we will lose because they're well rested. To be fair, they're playing tonight. And obviously they've been playing European football recently.
They have an extra day on us if you want to be really picky. But
yeah, they've got an extra day on us.
Difference.
Rich saying they've gone very strong tonight, Villa. Yep, as they need. I don't even think a draw is really good enough for them tonight, to be honest. Especially when they're playing one of the rivals that they're in. Do you know what I mean? Like it's such a big game. It's not like they're playing like Everton or something, who are down the table. Good, Rich. We can relax. I'm not going to be relaxed until the game's done, to be honest with you. It's on AFTV. I hope that went well, Rich. That's not how that went. Thought that, but they. I
saw someone in the chat said when Rich joined. I saw someone in the chat said it's Eze from Wish.
Yeah. Oh, that's a par. Konzo will be pressing trigger. Yeah, I agree. I think we'll try and push them on that side when they build. Rich, I'm just trying to be optimistic, so I'm so nervous. Got mad PTSD from 2016. You know what? I've only ever watched the highlights, I think, twice and once when I was quite drunk. So I don't you know what? And I think I remember watching it. I don't remember enjoying it. So I
you know what? I've watched that final so many times. Do you want to know why?
Why?
You know how many TV shops play that damn thing to like show off how good their TVs are? Oh, look at the red and blue on the TV. It's so bright. But turn it off. I don't care. Chairman can back me on that one. The amount of times I've seen them play it in like Curry's or Richer Sounds. Crazy.
Yeah. I've never noticed. I'm not going to lie. Our defence versus Asensio and Rodgers. You know what? Of all the players I'm worried about, I would say Asensio is probably the player I'm most worried about because I feel like he can beat a man quite easily. And I think once that happens, it does become a bit squishy, especially if we're trying to stop a transition as well.
I'm quite. Yes, I think he's the one that can do the damage when he's running in on goal. I fear more of the Telemans pass from the centre backs to him because that could really just cut Hughes and Adam out of the game completely if our centre backs are not switched on.
No, absolutely, and obviously, like what we were saying earlier, you don't want those three players raining down on our three centre backs. That's not a good place to be.
Long day.
Mary's going on Saturday. Hope you have a good time. Obviously, hope we all have a good time. Big up, Damo. Evening. It's great to have lots of leaders. Yeah, absolutely. That's one thing I think Dougie was very good at. Definitely very good at that. Scouting personalities. See Watkins come in on second half tonight. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe they'll swap it all at half time. We'll see. I'm going to try and catch second half. Chairman saying City pressing a lot. Villa passing is only at 73%. So I think Villa are quite a pressable team. Just make sure you block off that central area, and I think you're somewhat okay. Big up, Niall. And yeah, big up, chill out. Arsenal versus Crystal Palace need change. Oh yeah, I hope. Well, I mean that would be what a lot of us would do, but I think they want to try and keep that potential European spot in the league push going, although unlikely. JC, was there anything else you wanted to add? I told you I'm not predicting. I've got a bad history of predicting games.
I predicted in the preview that we did. What I will say, I'll not say my prediction here. But I'll give you a caveat for when you actually watch that video. It comes out Thursday at 7:30 p.m. So if you guys want to watch it, put that in your calendar, 7:30 p.m. I will say that the prediction I gave, I don't believe it. But I can't not back our team to not do well. In a game like this, you have to, even though you may not believe it, you got to hope it. You got to hope and wish and manifest it into existence. So when you watch that, you'll find out my prediction. I'm not going to tell you now, though.
I have to say, and normally I do find this when we do TACT-EAGLE, but I'm more optimistic now than I was, say, 24 hours ago.
Yeah, I think originally for me, when I saw the Newcastle game, I saw the scoreline, I was like, oh my gosh. But I think that you told me this was just before we started. They outscored their XG in that game. They outscored their XG against Brighton. They outscored their XG in almost every game they've played this year. That's got to come to an end at some point. Oh, you'd hope so, at least.
Yeah. And I think, and also as well, just like watching part of those games, I don't think there was a large portion of the game where they really weren't very good. So
yeah, we spoke about it earlier. Like when teams are dominating, there's always a few minutes spell where they just aren't at it and the other team gets a little run. Mm-hmm. But for some reason against Villa, that little run seems to go from 5 minutes to about 10 minutes.
Yeah,
because when the I guess the cohesion between the players is off, they can't move the ball as quickly as they want to, and it could take them a few minutes to get that going. So if we can keep the ball away from them, maybe try and actually hold the possession, which is something we don't really like to do. If we can get the ball away from them, the passing's not going to be as silky smooth as they want it to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. Right, final comments, and we will call it a day. It's been a long stream, but a very good one. How do we adapt to the anxiety in the defensive? I think as long as we play in a low block, we do our jobs.
I was going to say something different.
Chewing gum helps. That's all I'll say.
Oh, I was going to say something different, but Pat, you are not of age. But I was going to say alcohol. Lots of it.
When you are old enough, you can do that.
100%.
Palace puts their B team out and beat Arsenal. Anything, honestly, anything tomorrow, I think, will be a really good boost for the momentum. We have to believe it, just like Glasson and the players. I totally agree. Pat is thinking that Emery is a vampire buying a bit of garlic. And we're now level-headed on a Palace win, which means no full body wax of them.
I mean, I wouldn't say that, but
I get what you mean, Earth.
yeah, Earth, you may want to give me another red card, my second red card of the season when you watch the preview.
And in the rhythm of Glad all over. Right, thank you very much, guys. Really appreciate all of your watching. You start with us talking for like nearly an hour and a half. We really appreciate that. And yeah, obviously we got tomorrow, see how that goes, and then we've also then got the semi-final on Saturday. Who said watching Palace was boring? Eh?
One of the most boring club in the league.
And it'll be
Burnley's back, so we're not anymore.
Yeah, it'll be our 6th FA Cup semi-final that we've played in. So, well, as in tie, that is not. I know it has been replays in the past, but yeah. Other than that, JC, is there anything else you wanted to add?
Nope, I'm all good.
Right. All we can say is up the Palace.
Eagles!